Smallpox Blankets. While America in general has avoided the use of biological and chemical weapons, many historians agree that we did make at least one attempt at genocide through bioweaponry. America's manifest destiny meant getting rid of the original inhabitants of the continent. Many were killed by bullets and blades, but far more were wiped out as a result of diseases introduced by Europeans. Coming from a center of worldwide trade, Europeans developed at least partial immunity to many diseases, while themselves remaining carriers. Where Europeans went, plague almost always followed, helping to exterminate native populations and assisting in conquest. Unexploded bombs. Bat bombs. In the Second World War, Americans experimented with a secret weapon designed to decimate Japanese cities. At the time, most of Japan's cities were made of wood and paper. The idea was to release a bomb filled with sleeping bats captured from caves in New Mexico, wearing collars containing a napalm-like incendiary. Upon release at dawn, the bats would disperse and roost under the eaves of Japanese homes up to 40 miles away. The project, codenamed X-Ray, was tested in 1944, but the war effectively ended with the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Locusts, fleas, and rats. Salted bombs. Salted bombs are very similar in concept to dirty bombs, but are true nuclear weapons created specifically for the purpose of shorter-term area denial. A salted nuke contains an isotope of another substance like cobalt, gold, zinc, or sodium. During a nuclear blast, these elements become a huge cloud of fallout. These types of weapons are the same type used in the Soviet doomsday device from Dr. Strangelove. Small, 1 kiloton salted nukes could be used tactically and made so that the radioactive fallout decayed in a year or two, thus denying large swaths of land to enemy forces for a time. But radiation is invisible, and these weapons are generally prohibited because of their potential lethality to civilians. Dirty bombs. Balloon bombs. Yes, you're reading that correctly according to the 1898 Hague Convention. It is against international law to drop bombs from balloons. Originally proposed in 1898, the prohibition against the discharge of any kind of projectile or explosive from balloons, or by similar means, went into effect at the 1907 Peace Conference as a probationary measure to be resolved during the Third Conference. Hollow point bullets. Hollow point bullets, aka expanding ordnance, were explicitly outlawed for use in international warfare by the Hague Convention of 1899, which was, in fact, only a continuation of the St. Petersburg Declaration of 1868. This declaration forbade the use of exploding or expanding projectiles of less than 400 grams, which drew a clear line between bullets and artillery shells. The concept behind the ban was to avoid using bullets that made death inevitable, which, some might say, is the whole point of shooting someone in the first place. Poisoned bullets. The world's oldest known arms agreement, the Strasbourg Agreement of 1675, explicitly outlawed the use of poisoned bullets. First guns used in warfare weren't terribly accurate, so soldiers would often supplement the lack of accuracy by soaking their bullets in some kind of poisonous or infectious substance. It was not unheard of for legions of soldiers to stow their bullet caches inside rotting corpses, though the bottom of a latrine pit worked just as well. When France and the Holy Roman Empire went to war, they initially experienced a massive wave of casualties not from gunshot wounds, but from subsequent infection. More than 250 years would pass before Geneva once again addressed chemical and biological weapons. Non-self-destructing landmines. Since the Vietnam War, decades-old unexploded landmines have been a deadly menace in Southeast Asia. Cambodia has one of the highest rates of amputees in the world, as some 40,000 in its population have stepped on landmines planted during the Cambodian Civil War in 1970. In 2013 alone, some 111 people were killed by landmines, buried more than 40 years before. For that reason, as of 1980, mines placed outside of fenced and cordoned areas must use some sort of self-arming device or self-destruct mechanism set to go off after a certain period of time. Standard landmines may still be used, but can only be employed inside of fenced-in areas away from civilian populations and must be removed or destroyed when the conflict ends. Phasers set on kill. There are all kinds of directed energy weapons on the table, from death ray lasers to sonic cannons to real-life plasma rifles. However, as of right now, directed energy weapons with enough power to kill human targets are forbidden in war. This doesn't apply to depowered non-lethal microwave emitters like the active denial system currently in use. ADS puts out enough energy to cause an intense sensation of heat on a large crowd, but it's not enough to cause actual burning. The sensation has been compared to standing a few feet away from a large oven with the door open. It is possible to set the ADS on kill, but that is illegal for the time being. Microwave lasers limitation. Blinding laser beams. This might sound like one of those sci-fi things that would never happen, but the technology's been around for 40 years. Blinding laser beams don't refer to the laser dazzlers that police and special ops teams use. Those are low-powered beams that aren't designed to cause permanent blindness. This ban refers to lasers powerful enough to cause permanent blindness, which is amazingly easy to do, as most juvenile delinquents with laser pointers have been warned. The prohibition against deliberately blinding weapons goes way back to some of the first weapons bans passed in the 19th century. Napalm. Flamethrowers. According to Protocol Roman III of the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons, flamethrowers aren't explicitly forbidden on the battlefield. Mostly, this protocol refers to incendiary devices in and around civilian areas. It doesn't necessarily prohibit the use of flamethrowers in, say, an open tank battle or clearing caves in Afghanistan. But most guerrilla fighters hide behind or within civilian areas. If they are using human shields or might have captives, flamethrowers are a no-go. They are also incredibly easy to improvise. Basically, any controlled release of accelerant plus fire is a flamethrower by definition. Bioweapons. Spike pits. These old-fashioned death traps are technically prohibited or regulated by Protocol Roman II of the 1979 Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons. Hits with sharpened bamboo spikes maimed thousands of soldiers in Vietnam and in the Pacific during WW2. Adding insult to injury, the Viet Cong and Japanese would routinely roll those spikes in human or animal feces first, causing secondary infections after even the smallest scratch. That, in itself, is a direct violation of the 1907 Hague Convention on Biological Weapons and might even violate the 1675 Strasbourg Agreement. Suffice it to say, it violates a lot of conventions, agreements, and accords. Still fun to uppercut your opponent into immortal combat, though. Plastic landmines. According to Protocol I of the 1979 Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons, weapons that use non-metallic fragments not detectable by X-ray are prohibited in war. The rationale is pretty obvious, since field surgeons can't remove fragments they can't locate within an injured body. This doesn't prohibit the use of plastic and undetectable materials in weapon design. It just means that weapons can't be designed to use undetectable fragments as a primary damage device. Pepper spray. Tear gas. Phosgene gas. While mustard gas might have gotten all the press, phosgene was actually responsible for about 85% of all chemical weapons deaths in World War I. Simple and cheap to produce in large quantities, phosgene damages the proteins in the lungs, causing them to break down, meaning the lungs stop exchanging oxygen. It's a particularly insidious gas since it's colorless, almost odorless, and symptoms can take a long time to show up. Japan continued to use phosgene well into WW2 on at least 375 separate occasions, generally against the Chinese. Nerve gas. Nerve gases of all kinds have been systematically outlawed by both The Hague and Geneva from 1899 all the way up to 1993. All nerve agents like sarin, VX-tabon, and salmon work in the same basic way, by blocking the enzyme that normally destroys a very important neurotransmitter. Basically, nerve agents cause your entire nervous system to malfunction, like an electrical system full of short circuits. Death generally comes as a result of a shutdown of the respiratory system, but not before painful blisters, boils, and internal hemorrhaging occur. Mustard gas. The terror of the trenches in World War I, mustard gas gets its name from its yellow-brown color and its odor, which is apparently similar to horseradish. Because it's heavier than air, mustard gas proved particularly effective in clearing trenches, and was almost single-handedly responsible for the 1928 Geneva Conventions. When inhaled, the gas causes the lungs to fill with fluid, essentially drowning the victim in their own fluids. If they were hit with a bomb filled with mustard gas or dosed from the air, soldiers were told to pee into their handkerchiefs and breath through those until they could escape or the gas dissipated.
Hey guys, thank you so much for the support and likes and comments down below, and also thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to see you in the next video. Then take care, bye.